there are characters who often take inspiration from one another. That's not a crazy statement. However, Char Aznable and Lelouch Vi Britannia are incredibly similar, and we will be seeing if these two can put up their dukes, and who is A, the better pilot, who has the stronger mech, and who can even win in a street brawl if it comes to that. So, welcome one, welcome all. Now, starting off, Char Aznable. So, for Char, it's quite easy. We are able to take the newest iteration of him, which is Char being able to steal the Gundam from Geass, and that basically means that he was able to steal the RX. So it is the RX, it should scale to the RX, so by that logic, it should be able to scale to the massive explosion that the Gundam was able to tank in its first episode. That was basically a town level attack and was incredibly powerful. Now, getting into speed, unfortunately mobile suits have two different speed ends. There is just general walking speed and running speed. These are never considered that fast. For example, most Zaku's 85 kilometers an hour, like I said, not that fast. However, if you go for the flight speed, you see something a little different, with the low end being 3.7 Mach and the high end being around Mach 17.5. So it's safe to say that it is quite notable. On top of that, it is the original Gundam, so it does have all the original weapons, plus since it is in its red state, it does have funnels, which should be allow it to attack from multiple directions. Now, moving into Lelouch, we're simply put just going to be scaling him as he carries a current generation Nightmare frame. He should scale above all other Nightmare frames. Easy enough. And for scaling, once again, they were able to produce a large explosion. This was calced at around 575 tons of TNT, or around multi-city block level. So, quite powerful. Now getting into speed, we actually find that most Nightmare frames are quite fast and pretty soundly break the Mach category. However, for this instance, we're using a specific calculation, which got this particular Nightmare frame to around 4.5 Mach. So, safe to say, they are quite fast. Now, getting into abilities, obviously, long-range weapons such as a laser that can most likely be fired in multiple directions at once. There's also the ability to just remove its fingers and use those in a string. Comes with standard melee weapons like a sword, a shield, normal stuff. So, while not necessarily the most aggressive or flashy or unique set of abilities, the mobile suit in question, Nightmare frame, does pack quite a punch. However, this is where we get into Lelouch as a actual character, whereas Char Aznable is a notable pilot and is physically strong. He doesn't have any unique abilities, he's just a strong guy. Lelouch has the ability to look into your eyes and tell you to uninstall the game. And you do that very intentionally, against your control, or he'll tell you that you're going to work for him forever now. And guess what? You're stuck doing that forever. So no matter what, he kind of just has that ability. That's obviously the power of a king. It's literally called the power of a king. It's called Geass, and he uses that to great effect. On top of that, Lelouch is an incredibly brilliant mind. Both of these pilots are very notable. However, Lelouch is not only a master chess player, but he's considered probably the most intelligent person in his universe, being able to outsmart other military generals thousands of times over, outsmart his older brother, who even at that point was said to be one of the greatest minds on the planet. He's able to anticipate, predict, and as long as he has a calm head, he can basically predict anything you are going to do. So, now that we have established these two characters, let's get into the fight. And yeah, so to put into perspective, Lelouch, sometimes, if we use the low ends of the Zakus and Gundams and things of the sort, then Lelouch actually has a speed advantage, thanks to him having a 9th generation Nightmare Frame. However, he doesn't necessarily have the firepower to put down Char. Basically needs to multiply his power 17 times over in order to kill Char. Like, you guys understand that. Most weapons are going to completely bounce off the normal Gundam. And every shot from Char's mobile suit Gundam is going to completely annihilate any Nightmare Frame from any Code Geass series. With the exception of maybe Cullen's shield, because you can argue that that shield uses waves instead of actual material or hard light technology, therefore it doesn't have a durability, it just has a negation. That's the only... But even then, Lelouch doesn't have that. So what is he going to do? Well, he's going to have to dodge. And this is where his tactical mind comes in. Now, in this scenario, his Nightmare Frame does require typically 2 people. However, in this instance, he doesn't have that second person, so he is going to have to pilot. And he is notable for not being the greatest pilot. Obviously, he can manage himself, but he really comes across as a strategic mind. So, there is always a win condition where Lelouch intentionally throws the match, where he intentionally loses his mobile suit, gets out of it, and then just stares at Char. And there is a chance that Char gets out of the mobile suit to shoot him, to ask him questions, to do whatever, to do Char things. Who knows? Maybe he needs to, brag. Maybe he needs to compare masks. I don't know. But there's a chance. And then what happens if Char gets hit with the Geass? Well, Char's most likely going to die. Now, there is a chance he will resist it more because he's a new type. You could definitely make that argument. They're more mentally sound. They're deeper in their emotions. They gain access to new abilities. Most of the new type abilities that he at least has is just enhanced reaction time, sensing danger, predicting people's actions. How do you predict that someone has a red line in their eyeball that becomes a bird, and then that psychic bird flies at you, and then you become subservient to that person? You know? Listen, I'm all for giving Char the win. I actually do think he wins this matchup most often than not, because I doubt he would get out of the mobile suit intentionally most of the time. However, whereas even though there's a massive stat difference, I still can only say that maybe Char takes, I want to say, 60% of this match. Because the idea of just having an ability to look at someone and go, no, you're going to let me win, you're going to give me your mobile suit, and then after you give me your mobile suit, you're going to jump off a cliff. And he can't do anything about that. Now, obviously, there's a chance he also just gets stepped on, and that's why I said 40%. Lelouch only has a 40% chance to win this, which, I need to stress again, is insane for the power difference. For most scenarios, a 17 times damage, like a 17 times power advantage to one opponent, is such a massive advantage that Lelouch could literally spend all day shooting the Gundam, and most likely he would not chip off enough paint for us to be able to recognize it's the original RX-78-2. That's how big the gap is. So, in that instance, it is so unlikely for Lelouch to win. However, Geass provides such a thorough and just complete win condition that if it happens, it's immediately happening. Or even if you take into effect that, let's say they do a Gundam classic where they're in a warehouse talking about humanity and all that, and then they run out into their mobile suits and then they fight. Let's say that happens. Except, what if that's a very common thing to happen in Gundam. Too bad. That would not happen because someone has the ability to control the other person by looking at them. Like, I don't think you all understand. This is literally just, what if Itachi was a mech pilot? Like, that's the ability. His genjutsu is an ability. That is Lelouch. So, simply put, he just has such a notable win condition that even though his power is severely lacking in this matchup, it's still kind of close. Anyway, I just wanted to break that down for you guys today. I thought it was an interesting matchup considering these two characters, they're very similar. Like, let's be real. And, like, I'm also not saying that as a bad thing. I literally love both of these series, and these two characters in particular are genuinely some of my favorite in the mecha genre, period. So, yeah. But anyway, this matchup is pretty close, but Char's taking it more times than Lelouch. So yeah, that's it. Winner is Char Aznable. I hope you folks have a good day, and this is Rox signing out.